Hi, and welcome back to Cannabinoids in the Corn. I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Quinn.
Before we dive in today, we're going to do a quick disclaimer just to let you know, we are not experts. We are absolutely not experts in this field. What we are cannabis nerds, and we are here to share our knowledge and experience with you from our time working in the cannabis industry, specifically in the Midwest, as well as our personal cannabis enthusiasm that we have put in.
Absolutely. This knowledge has all just been a collection that we've put together based on our own passion and curiosity towards this plant, what it can do, and everything related to it.
Yep, and having the opportunity to speak to thousands of individuals about it. And in saying that, we're just going to dive right in. One of the major things we feel that we should address kind of right off the bat is the fear. That fear and sometimes even anger that has surrounded this entire industry. For me, when I first started, there was just a lot of questions, but there always seemed to be a lot of fear, and then sometimes fear just kind of around it. And then, we quickly got to a point where, well, let's start having conversations. Mm-hmm. So we started talking to our customers, asking questions, and we quickly found out that the fear and even the anger that was coming was pretty much all based from misinformation and
overall lack of understanding of the product, of how any of it functions, how it works together, how all of the parts are labeled, all of the information.
And when you're living in places that do fear mongering, and then there's just so much out there, us looking at, talking to different vendors and just all the things that we have run into, that it came to a point where, we are tired of this information not being out there. We are tired of...
And feeling like there are people that are gatekeeping the processes that help you understand the final product that you're enjoying.
So we are just coming to you from a space of, we are sharing our knowledge that we have obtained to give you the confidence and comfort that you need to shop in this current landscape, because it's a fluid industry.
Absolutely. It changes
consistently
every single moment.
There are times where, just when I was first starting out thinking, okay, I'm finally getting a handle on this, just to walk in the next day and be like, nope, you know nothing. Mm-hmm. So this is the space.
All right, time to pivot.
Yep, this is the space that we are coming from. So what we really want to do is just start eradicating that fear and start just passing on confidence, so that no matter what environment you live in, no matter what your relationship is with cannabis, you are able just to walk in and know what you're looking for, and know what things should be. When we have definitely seen from our experiences that when we first started, selling, legal cannabis, to starting to educate the customer, there was an absolute change in the product that we brought in, the quality that was being asked for. So we knew even then that there was a lot going on with this was a lot bigger than anyone was kind of looking at. Mm-hmm. So in order to do that and start boosting everyone's confidence, we are just going to be starting at the very beginning and just kind of defining certain things.
Absolutely.
So the first thing we're going to dive into is the cannabis family tree.
Absolutely. And that being said, what we're going to start with is how cannabis has been historically categorized throughout history, starting around the 1920s, I guess, is for reference. And that would be in the genus Cannabis. There are 3 species, those being Cannabis sativa, Cannabis indica, and Cannabis ruderalis. This has been the way that it was originally classified, especially when it was, shall we say, discovered by the Western world, and how they chose to write about it in the plant journals and stuff of that time. So going down the list, starting from the top, Cannabis sativa historically was used more for its production than its consumption. It was more used for growing for fibers, to use for sails, for ropes, for bags, for paper, textiles, that
puka
kind of
shell
thing.
necklaces.
Yep. So those the necklaces that were the puka shells and how that's all tied together. A lot of times those were hemp quarters.
Yep.
That were used for that.
I used it in my crafting days.
Exactly. And so next down the list would be Cannabis indica. That was mainly grown in the mountainous regions of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India, and kind of through that whole mountain range that goes that kind of Eastern Europe up through the edge of China and that area. And it was cultivated alongside humans, specifically bred and grown for ceremonial and human consumption. It was known to produce much higher cannabinoid levels than any of the other varieties due to the way that it was selectively bred over many generations and raised alongside the humans of the area.
So this is where that indica couch saying comes from.
This would have been what they considered the drug for portion of the family tree.
Gotcha.
And then last but not least, what would be probably the least well understood, which is Cannabis ruderalis. It was native to Central, Eastern Europe, and Russia. It is much lower in the psychoactive components, so lower in THC, but also higher in CBD. And it also has a different form of flowering and the way that it grows. And for that reason, a lot of modern cannabis strains have ruderalis that has been bred into it to create auto-flowering varieties for more consistent yields and things like that when we're talking about grows.
Okay.
And that was kind of the best way to look at cannabis for a long time. And that was the historical classification, but that doesn't really hold up in today's society now, does it?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, that's kind of the basic super rough history, just to kind of give us a starting point. But no, how it is today, absolutely not. It's kind of almost pandemonium at times.
Oh, yeah. It's a mess.
Yeah. So, like, the one of the things that for us was the whole hemp versus marijuana. And again, for that one, we need to go back to the beginning. We need to go back to the cannabis genus grown in different environments around the world. We know from what science tells us that the cannabis can do so many different things, can be used as medicine, it can be used as textile, and all these amazing things. But going back to the beginning to, the beginning of the cannabis genus, and then you add in 100 years of testing, using, growing, traveling, breeding, and it kind of gets to the point where the argument of hemp versus marijuana, well, is it really one? That line's getting finer as the days go on.
There are plants that are being grown now that are what could be technically considered sativa by the genetic grouping, but are producing products for consumption more along the lines of what would be classically considered an indica. It's the fine line between those two things is getting thinner and thinner by the day as we keep breeding them against each other to create new varieties and new things.
So basically, when it comes down to kind of that hemp versus marijuana argument, the streets are a mess. There's really no, way to do, go one way or the other. So,
and it's more than understandable to be confused on the current landscape of what we are looking at with all of this. It has been confusing for us, and we've been in the industry for this amount of time.
Even working in it, going, wait, what? And trying to find and do deep dives and find people that were even willing to share the information. Because when I first started trying to find out what exactly all of this was, it was not easy. It was a massive research project.
It wasn't quite as easy as a Google search.
No, absolutely not, because that was even scarier. It's even scarier than AI sometimes. So that is where we're at kind of on the hemp versus marijuana. And then that leads us into modern day to the Delta-9 debacle is kind of where that goes into. And to get that kind of straightened out, because this, I know for me, this has always been the biggest hurdle with talking to, it's that D9 stuff and D9 and D9. And at this point, it's starting to put gaps into things, or put in arguments, wedges. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. It's just starting to put wedges into things.
It's the number one question and number one misunderstanding of the knowledge that I run into on a regular basis. And so that being said, let's talk about THC. Let's talk about the compound that everyone is most excited about in cannabis. It's the one that everyone's usually looking for, and that would be tetrahydrocannabinol.
You good over there?
Yeah. A little bit of a word salad at times.
Do you have the THCs?
And then just a brief aside that also on what a chemical compound is. A chemical compound is a pure substance made of two or more different elements chemically bonded together in a fixed ratio. So it is a specific way of saying exactly what this precise substance is.
Yep, and THC is the chemical compound that contributes to most of the psychoactive effects in cannabis.
And the form of THC that grows naturally in the plant is Delta-9 THC.
Yep.
That is just the most specific way to label the type of THC that grows in the plant normally, and what is most commonly seen in most products.
So what I'm hearing, Quinn, is that calling it Delta-9 THC is quite literally calling it by its government name.
Its full government name. Both feet, 10 toes down.
Awesome. Okay. So Delta-9 THC is what is classic THC.
Is classic THC.
It's what we found from the streets to the rec to medical.
Oh, absolutely.
Classic THC. So please, when you come in with the Delta-9 stuff, that's the regular stuff. That's what you want to be looking for.
Exactly. And historically, it was the most and really the only type of THC that you would encounter up until 2018, when the Farm Bill made Delta-8 much more readily accessible and that kind of thing, which is a great way to segue into the second most common type of THC, and that would be Delta-8 THC. Delta-8 THC is found in small amounts in the plant, but is most commonly synthesized out of industrial hemp that is lower in natural THC. And while that can be seen as a synthetic process, it is not the same as what was synthetic cannabis back in the late 90s and early 2000s. It is something that is distinctly different.
So basically, at the end of the day, not all D8 is the same.
No, absolutely not.
There's always the rumor of being low quality and all that. And that is definitely something we will touch on, later in our series. But not all D8 is the same.
No, absolutely. And with the Farm Bill opening up the cannabis landscape so much and so quickly,
it just caused more confusion.
It caused more confusion because you had a lot of companies pushing out a product to people because they could, and not following up with the information about how this was different from what the person was expecting. And that's been a large point of contention throughout my entire experience working in this industry. Of so many people were sold something that said THC on the package, and it wasn't labeled as Delta-8 THC, but probably was. And it kind of ruined their trust of the industry because of one specific example of someone that was trying to just make a product that was legal and not label it necessarily as much as they possibly could.
Yes, so we beg you, please do not judge all products the same, because we can tell you from personal experience to even selling experience. There is
good D8 and there is bad recreational D9. It is a spectrum from top to bottom.
Absolutely. So we are, again, going to be here to help you identify what that quality looks like and just kind of take that mystery out. But for us, the biggest battle has always been, it's that D9 stuff. Well, that's plain old regular weed.
You're just being very specific about what type of THC you want right now. I don't know why you're not agreeing with me.
So if you're not looking for classic THC, I'm not quite sure, or D8, but if you don't want that, so, So yeah, that is kind of where we're going to end it out for today, just kind of starting with the basics. But we do want to hear from you. What other cannabinoids do you want to talk about? Do you want us to go deeper into what we talked about today? What questions do you have? What other cannabinoids do you want? The CBD, CBG, CBN, CBC, HHC, THCV, H4CBD, THCO, THCP. So where do you guys want to go? So please leave us comments, like this video, and let us know the things you want to talk about.
And absolutely, you can always send us a message to our email at cannabinoidsinthecorn@gmail.com. If you have a question, you just want to send us a happy little note, tell us about your experience in the cannabis industry or in the cannabis landscape. And then we also have our Instagram and Facebook at Cannabinoids in the Corn as well. So please follow there if you want to follow along on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking to build this community up, and we need you to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
All right. So you guys have a good one. Thanks for joining us again.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.